Here we go on another episode of the Trash Talk Business Podcast, our weekly opportunity to get together to grow, scale, and build our junk removal dream. As always, I'm your host. I don't even know what the hell I am. I'm your host, Andy Weins. We're a bit delayed today. As you can see, the scenery has changed. That's right. We have our first ever live in-person podcast here doing the Trash Talk Business Podcast. And I already said my name was Andy. This is Erik Ulvog. Ulvog?
Yeah, that's good.
Ulvog. 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 And the running joke is on the podcast here, typically the extent of the research I know about people, Alabama number calling me, probably a listener asking where the hell we are. I had my phone on Do Not Disturb and I took it off. So typically my research is how do we pronounce your last name? And then we hit the live button. Today, a little bit different because we know each other in the real life. Your shop is all of 2 blocks away. We do projects together. And now here we are. So we're 15 minutes delayed because technology. Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
So Erik, let's chat. What brings you here to the podcast today?
Hey, thanks for having me. It's just a privilege. And I didn't have anything else to do at the shop because I got great guys. So I was like, hey, Andy, can I get online?
There we go. You know what? That's a good thing now. So let's talk. What is it? What is it you do where you have great guys? What are your businesses you're involved in?
So you and I met in the real estate space.
Yep.
I was a real estate agent, and after being a real estate agent, and I still am one, but we just started doing some flipping, and flipping is wrought with problems. And the biggest one is where do you go with all the stuff? So that's how we met.
Yep.
But at some point in time down the road, I got this crazy, stupid idea that I was going to get sued as a real estate agent for sewer laterals collapsing, specifically the pipe that goes from the house to the street.
Yep.
And so I started doing camera evaluations for my buyers whenever they buy these old houses. And one thing led to another. And I started a pipelining company. So, I mean, essentially, I'm in a shit pipe business, literally.
So let's talk real estate agent to flipping houses.
Mm-hmm.
How long were you an agent? Let's build up the hero's journey here.
Dropped out of college, grad school in like 96. And in 1997, I got licensed. And it's the only thing I did for like 25 years was sell houses.
Okay. So then how long have you been flipping?
I started flipping in 2018.
Okay. It sounds accurate. So we started in 16 and then.
Yeah.
All right. And then you started the shit pipe business.
Yeah. COVID 2020.
Okay.
Yeah. Great time to start plugging away because everybody was home. Yeah. They were remember they were buying like toilet paper and hordes
just
like
paper,
jamming up those lines like nobody knew.
Well, I mean, crazy. You went from flushing at work to, flushing at home, the sewer systems in our suburbs, suburbs changed. Randomly, I watched a video about, I'm an old school wrestling guy. I'm watching the Vince McMahon documentary, Mr. McMahon on Netflix.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. But anyways, I still get on YouTube. I was scrolling this morning and The Undertaker has a podcast. I don't know what's called. Mark Calloway's his real name. Whatever. It's something. Stone Cold also has a podcast. Anyways, Undertaker was on this podcast talking about how the Big Show bought his house that he normally he was the Giant on WCW and then the Big Show, and I'm sure other names on WWF and then WWE. Really dating myself here. Anyhow, there's a point to the story. He bought Undertaker's old house and within 6 months had to have the septic pumped, even though Undertaker lived there for like 15 years and never had it pumped because it, naturally breaks down. Yes, the Big Show, big man, also shits a lot.
He was talking about it.
Yeah. So that was my research I did for this podcast today.
Good.
Inadvertent research.
Well,
we were talking about sewer laterals and shit pipes, and I was like, oh yeah, funny story.
The municipality shall remain unnamed, but the team went down to pull a permit and got into a kind of a controversial argument with the chief plumbing inspector over the entire community because he was like, how do you fix a pipe without digging it up? And I was like, if you're the chief plumbing inspector
for this major community and you don't know what CIPP is, you're probably hired beyond your pay grade.
So let's talk about this acronyms. Yeah. One thing, I got a military background, so one rule is when you give an acronym, you got to preface it. So what is CIPP?
So most people think about they see it on YouTube because there's like millions of hits, but most people know that you can line a pipe, you can sleeve a pipe, or you can put something in it called CIPP, which is cured in place piping, which is the equivalent of brand new PVC inside of an old pipe.
Okay.
But you roll it in there raw and then you cure it while it's in the pipe.
Yeah. So it's soft and then not soft.
And then it's not soft. Right. So,
and that's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
That's your endeavor.
Yeah.
So real estate, how much, let's break down percentage of time. How much time are you putting into real estate these days? Outside of Wisconsin home guys?
Probably 12 to 15 hours a week.
Okay. So if you work 50 hours, 30%. Mm-hmm. What percentage is flipping, or is that part of that 50?
We kind of closed down the flipping operation. We didn't really close it down. We didn't really have time for it because we were like serious flippers. We weren't doing 1 or 2 a year. We were trying to do like 20 to 25.
I know we probably did 10, 12 projects a year.
Yeah,
just
off us.
That's what I think. It was like and they would come in spurts. Like you would buy up 2 or 3, and we'd go bang them out. Okay, so you're really out of the flipping.
So this year we only did 3 flips so far.
I think I was at all 3 of them. We did up in Germantown.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah, that one was a mess. Holy cow, that was bad.
That's why you pulled me.
I got killed on that one.
That was not a great time.
We should have shared the murder, the bloodbath together.
I took it early. Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
that was the one. It just kept going. And I remember I gave a price, and I'm the one that did the estimate. I can't remember how I fucked it up somehow. It ended up being
neither you nor I ever jumped up into the attic.
Well, that was the issue. Yeah. Well, I went in the attic, but I couldn't see beyond the initial row of boxes.
Right.
Yeah, that was what it was. It was like, and I remember, so this is a lesson, right? When you have a great contractor, so I can point to you here and you're whatever. Normally, I just like pointing here. Anyhow, we've been doing jobs for years. So since 18, we've been doing projects with you. Mm-hmm. 40, 50 projects, whatever it's been through, probably about that. 50 projects, maybe more.
It's probably been 50 projects.
50 projects, probably a fair
then
number.
There's the other portion of it of like, I was still selling like 50 to 60 houses a year.
Right,
and at least 10 of those needed to get cleaned out.
We've done a lot of jobs.
Leave all your crap there and we'll just call Camo Crew and then I'll pay Camo Crew and then you can just pay
that's what I'm saying. So we've done it. So this one in Germantown, I stuck my head in the attic because you had to go you could access the attic through the garage, which was unusual. So I looked and I was like, I don't know, half trailer, 3/4 trailer. And then even downstairs, like, that'll pack out. And shit did not pack out the way. And I also want to this was, I don't know, March or April. I was a little more aggressive, right, with my estimate. I think it was like a 7 trailer job or whatever it was. I was like, I think we can get it done like 5.5, 6. We'll just have to be very judicious. Mm-hmm. And then the attic of the house was like 2 trailers. Oh. So I called your guy and was like, hey, I fucked up. I fucked up a trailer. Right? The way it packed out. And my guy, Dan's the one that did the job. He's like, when we walked it, I was like, it's 6 trailers all day. He goes, and then we packed 6 trailers and still in another 3 sitting. 3, right. And then also there was stuff in the backyard where I was like, we'll just throw it on top, some patio furniture added later. So it was one of those jobs where it's like, I called, who was the guy? Nick. Who was I?
Phil.
Yeah. I called Phil. I was like, hey, how much room do you have on this job? He goes, less than what I approved for you for. I was like, fuck. And I was like, well, there was like 2 trailers up in that attic. He goes, we never got up there. I go, neither did I. And I was like, plus I shorted myself. So basically I was like 3 trailers short. I was like, you got to meet me somewhere. I think we met at 1. And it was enough where I was honest. We maintained a relationship. I wasn't a dick. You paid it. And like you said, you took it on the chin. I took it on the chin.
So you know how like flippers are, I think they're either stupid or nuts or they got some serious cojones. Because on that job site, the drain tile ended up being all jacked up, which you never see because you can't see that.
I think I had
you get like 10, 20 minutes to look at the house. You got to give them a cash offer, right? And then
it was a nice piece of it was like acre and a half.
Landscaping was like 150% over budget. I budgeted $5,000 and came in at 15 when it was all said and done. It was an absolute nightmare because it wouldn't stop raining all year long.
Also, did you guys end up taking that pool out because it was nasty?
We left it.
It was a shit pool.
It was disgusting. It was like duck pool.
Well, I remember he asked me, he's like, how much you take out the pool and the deck? And I was like, it was like $3,000 or something. He's like, no. I was like, all right.
So then we ripped the roof off because we can't get insurance on the doggone thing because the insurance companies are all like, "Oh, that's an old roof. We're not going to insure it." So when the dumpster guys came to recover their dumpster, they backed into the asphalt and crunched it off the back.
I heard about this.
I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to freaking kill somebody."
Yeah, I think we're about the time I was trying to get paid. That's
I'm like,
they're like, we don't want to talk about that job.
Well, they did fix the garage door that they damaged because the poor dumpster driving guy who had no experience, he just kind of hit it and it buckled in, and I was like, okay, this is
the other thing between business owner and business owner. Like, you got your ass kicked, I got my ass kicked. We never even talk about, like, we've seen each other in person. Exactly. Right. It's like now here we're live on a podcast. Like, yep, yeah, that sucked.
Yeah, I know. I know. I've had some sewer jobs that I've gotten killed on too. So, but you know how it is. You just live to fight another day.
Well, and that's the thing I tell my guys all the time, this too shall pass. Like, so last week we were 120% to goal. So today we did 120% to goal last week. Guess what? Monday morning, 8 a.m., we're back to zero.
Yeah.
Right. And our guys know that it's like my hillbilly math is that it is hillbilly math. It is, we need to win 3 out of 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. We need to win 2 out of 3 months.
Yeah.
Right. And when we win 2 out of 3 months, we need to win 3 out of 4 quarters.
And I'm going to use that.
Mm-hmm. Right. Because my goal, I've been using this math for a long time with people. This is my expectation of people. And I hold myself to the same standard. It's your percentage. I despise I'm going to give you 100%. I'm going to give you 115%, 110%. It's mathematically fucking impossible. So it pisses me off. This is my expectation from our guys. And this is the expectation I have for myself. 90% of the time, Taylor, put this in the chat as I say this, as I type this up to put the numbers. 90% of the time, I need 80%.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Baseline 80%. I want 80% engagement at all times. Right? So if you work 50 hours a week, 40 hours, 40 of your 50 hours, give me 80%.
Yeah.
Give me what you're going to get done. Right? Okay. Now, that's 90% of the time. 9% of the time, I want 90%. So in our business, when you got a difficult customer, I need you to step up the charm, right? You got a project towards the end of the day and it's tough to fit it in. I need you to rally the troops. I need you to figure it the fuck out, right? I need 90% of you, right? 9% of the time.
90%, 9% of the time. 80%, the other 90% of the time.
And 1% of the time, I need you to give me 100%.
Okay. And 1%, 100%.
1%, right?
I'll take that hillbilly math.
So 1% of an entire week. So let's do the math on this, right? 50 hours.
Right.
You work 50 hours. You work 360, 60 minutes an hour. You work 300 minutes a week.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
I need you to give me that math. No, 300, 3,000. 3,000? Is that mathing?
It's mathing. Yeah. It's
3,000. 300. I'm like,
you got to add a zero. It's hillbilly math.
3,000, right? So you know what? I need a half hour of your entire week. I know it comes out to a half hour. I need a half hour of your entire week to be dialed in. That's the one job that went to shit. That's the one customer over the phone that's freaking out, right? I'm working with an employee and he's having a fucking shit day and I'm about to fucking wring his neck and I need to coach him through this minute, right? Mm-hmm. And same with me, right? I tell my guys, right, when we're in some of our meetings, there are times where we got a tough problem and I give you 10, 15 minutes and I'm exhausted because I'm like, oh, we got to do this and we got to do this. We got to do this. And so when you break that down, it comes out to, even as an entrepreneur, people always ask if I'm always busy. The fact is I'm not busy. Busy is bullshit. I'm productive.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Right? So here's the deal. 40 hours a week, I can be Andy. I can, right, when I'm at networking events, I'm doing the thing. When I'm here around the guys, I'm doing the thing, right? 9.5 hours a week, I need to be on point. That's not that's my opportunity to be at 90%. Podcast, right? This is my top 10% of time, right? I'm giving it myself. I have the audience. Hell, you were here at 4:00. The cameras were shit. I do not do technology well.
Right.
Taylor's my technology guy. So what do I do? I literally walked away. I get my bottle of water. I'm like, you know what? Just decompress. Because right now I don't need to be at 90%. I need to be 80%. 80% right now is delegate, elevate.
Mm-hmm.
Taylor had it all figured out. Okay, so we start the show 15 minutes late. Big fucking deal, right? There's no sponsors,
right?
For the people that tune in right at 1600, 4:00. Guess what? You get 15 minutes on the tail end of your drive or whatever you're doing. Like that's the reality of it. Because I'm gonna give you my 90% right now. And maybe there's a moment, right? Those 30 minutes a week, maybe there's a moment in this podcast that's going to require the best of me to solve something. And maybe not.
Mhm.
Right? We do not get to define the moments in our life that define us. Right? We don't get to decide.
You walk into them.
You walk into them. And it's how did you show up in that moment? There are plenty of moments in my life where I was like, oh, I shoot the bed there. Right? And that goes back to the book I wrote about words, because words fucking matter and all those things. It's like, no, give me what you got. And so even let's go back to this project we did that went to shit. It's like in that moment, it's like I could have gone 100% on the let me explain to you why you're wrong, why you owe me more money. All of it. It's like, what can we do? What are we doing? All right, yep. Like I didn't have to be at 90%. I'm like, where I call this like, hey man, like I'm fucking eating crow. I'm like, yeah, that fucking addict sucked. He's like, yeah, I heard about it. I think he was there. He knew I wasn't full of shit.
Right.
I admitted I was a trailer short, and then we found two. More.
You're trailer short, and you find two, and
we find two.
Ball.
Exactly.
The gross margins at like
crap.
4%.
Yeah, and also we were, it was. I want to say it was April or March. It was right. Cold. It was cold.
Oh, when you estimated it was.
When I estimated it, and it was like a couple weeks later, we did it. When I estimated it, I needed to work that week. That's why I got a little more aggressive.
Oh,
and now I don't do a lot of estimates.
Because those guys didn't even freaking move out until like Memorial Day.
Yeah, because we looked at
we estimated in March, and then Memorial Day rolls around. Everybody's like, "Dude, I need to get all this junk out of here."
Yeah, and by the time we actually did it, it was like I didn't want the work anymore.
You should have just called up and be like, "Can I have more money?" I've been like, "Yeah, sure."
Oh, I did.
Because I know, I know
you're guy to protect you guys.
Oh, yeah. Phil said, "No way."
Oh yeah, Phil's like, that's what I said. I asked him, I'm like, "Hey, what's the budget?" He's like, what you set me a quote on. That's our budget.
He's tough.
I get it too, and also. I have your personal number. I can walk 2 blocks. I can find you, and I'm waiting for telling you about it now because it's funny.
Right.
Because I'm not going to ruin the relationship with you.
Well, okay, we go back. You need 2 of 3 months worth of wins. You need 3 of 4 weeks worth of
3 or 4 numbers. Right. So
you need 90 or 80%
for 90%
of the time. You need 100%. No, you need a 90%, 9% of the time, and 1% one. All right, that works because I got this young man. They're all kids when you're in your 50s. But
young man, I'm 40. I could be a young man.
He's like 22 years old, right? And he cracks concrete for me, and he hauls it out of basements with buckets. And he is a brute, and he works his butt off. But so I told him, I'm like, Isaac, next time you're on a job site and you're doing a camera evaluation or talking to some customer or homeowner about it, I was like, if you sell that job, I'll give you $500. So he was out on Saturday working this deal, and he was pulling a house trap, and he told the lady, he's like, dude, if I were you, he's like, I would reline this pipe because this pipe's going to be awful. And it's just going to cause you nothing but trouble. So she called me up and she said, Isaac says I should reline the pipe. How much do you want? I gave her the number, and he's like, sounds good to me. She's like, great, write it up and sign it. All because he gave 100% in that moment. Normally he would be like, I don't want to talk to the homeowner.
It's kind of weird. I break concrete. That's all I do.
I've got no business acumen. I didn't even graduate from college or high school or whatever his story is. And he shows up for 1% of the time. He makes more money in 1 minute, 1 hour, 1% of his week than he did the entire week of cracking concrete and driving the trucks around.
And so my show right before this, Annie Weins Live, I talked about the trinsics. That's what we called it. The trinsics, intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Right? Like I'm motivated to sell. I like convince. I do Annie Weins Live. I write books. I do the podcast. I do this. Right. I like influencing people and sharing knowledge. Right? That makes me feel good. I do this because it feels good. Right? Some people need external motivation. Right? $500 to be vulnerable. That's what you're asking him.
Yeah.
Hey man, right? I'm not asking you to sell snake oil. Right? Based on your assessment, guy, you know what's best for the customer. You're already in front of the customer. Yeah. The customer called you to come do work on their house. You're actually doing a disservice in that moment by not explaining it. Yeah. There are plenty of, I'm selling the same thing. I own a home. I've had situations before where people are like, hey, this is what you need to do. I'm like, oh, okay. And then later they're like, well, actually, if you would have done that one extra step, it would have been better. It's like, well, why didn't you give me that option? Like, let me say no to you before you assume I don't want to pay for it, I can't afford it. Like, I'm a cheap individual. I'm frugal. how do I say this? Is a better way of putting this. I keep saying I'm frugal. I am selective in my spending.
Mhm.
I'm the guy that go to the grocery store. I want to save 30 cents. I go to a nice restaurant. I'm like, yeah, add this scallops for $30 fucking dollars. Right? Like it is when I'm at home, I never go out to eat. When I'm on the road, I do something revolves around food. I eat anything and everything I want. I always get the appetizer. Hell, I'll get double entree. I don't give a shit. Right? I like to experience life. Or if I go to movies or things like that in museums, I'm like, special museums. I'm like, give me the whatever fast pass, whatever show, give me it all. Right? I took my dad to the World War II museum, and there was 2 shows. There's a D-Day landing. There's another one. It's like the 4 pillars. Was it Franklin Roosevelt talking about the 4 pillars? Of course, now it escapes me. And yet, I had never seen that show. I saw the other show. I'm like, you know what? I'm taking my dad to the World War II museum in New Orleans. His life he's going to go there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, give me the Cadillac package. When I spend money in my house, I'm like, yeah, I'm willing to spend 10, 20, 50, maybe 100% more than I originally thought about to never have to think about this again.
Yeah.
The goal is counts. I'm going to be in this thing the next 40 years. That's the plan.
Mm-hmm.
What if it's $1,000 to solve the problem? If it's $2,000 to regret the problem from ever happening again, what's $2,000 over 40 years?
It's crazy.
You know, it's $50 a year. I mean, that's a big deal. And
we're seeing people like, it doesn't matter where they live, what income brackets they're at. All that matters is whether or not that pipe is jacked up. And they like, I had a guy come in last week, gave me $12,000 in cash. I was like,
no questions asked.
I'm like, he likes it, you know. I'm like, I'm putting this on the books, just so you know. Yeah. He's like, he's like, I know. I just like cash. I was like, that's like the 3rd time that happened this year. Somebody came in like $15,000 in cash, but you know, like that's your like I put my money underneath my bed kind of people.
Fine,
but when it comes to their pipes, they're like, no way. And so I tell the guys, I'm like, don't ever assume that you know what that person's story is. Because they'll come back and they're like, that person can't afford it. I was like,
did they?
I don't.
No, did they say they can't? What did they say? Did they say no? Okay, they said no. And often people feel, I would say, actually, I'll say this about myself. I feel disrespected when you assume I'm not willing to make an investment, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Right? Like I show up to life like this.
Yeah.
Right? Jeans, you know, if I'm jeans, fucking t-shirt kind of guy,
right.
I wear camel pants and boots almost everywhere I go. When I go places and people assume I want the cheapest thing because I look blue collar, because I look poor, whatever the case is, I get irritated. Mm-hmm. There are other times where I've walked into places looking like this and they treat me decent. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, right, I feel empowered. Yeah. And I might actually spend a little bit more money because you treat me like I'm worth it.
Yeah.
And so what I learned very early in my career, maybe my first year or two, doing this jam, someone said, never sell to your wallet, sell to their wallet.
Yeah.
Because I would, even in junk removal, I've said this a lot of times, so I would not pay for my service. Casey, my old co-host, he goes, I wouldn't pay $500 for junk removal because I got a pickup truck, I got a strong back, right? He always said that. Now he owns storage units, not a junk removal company. He's like, shit, I pay for it all the time. This is company money, and I don't want to get my truck dirty. And I don't have a trailer later on.
I don't want to get my truck dirty.
And I'm not broke. Like, Casey was homeless. I was homeless. Casey was homeless. I told him to be in the comments. Like, when you're homeless, like, I'm not spending money on anything. Now, I don't clean my house. I don't cut my grass. Mm-hmm. Right? There's a lot of things.
I just signed my snow contract today.
So the
guy's like, I'm like, you better not overcharge me this year. You better like, not so much salt, Lon. Not so much salt, dude.
I'm the opposite. I have a Jeep. I just make tracks. Like when it's still snowing, I will go out there and just drive up on my driveway like 3 or 4 times, and that's it. I used to enjoy shoveling my own snow because it was like, oh, I'm gonna go outside. I'm gonna get some fresh air. It's gonna feel because when it's snowing, that like crisp. It's not cold yet, but like that crisp air. Yeah. I'm like, oh, I'll be shoveling. And then every year I pull a muscle or like the next day I'm sore. And so the last 2 years, I'm like, oh, fuck it. Like,
I'm not doing
it. You know what? It's going to melt by April. Like, that's why, like, for me, there's nothing more irritating than shoveling snow. And then 2 days later, it's 50 degrees out. And it's all melted. Like, I just spent 2 hours of my life full of muscle for something that's gone. Plus, our winters. I mean, it is Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Was it 18th, 19th of October, whatever today's date is. And it is 75 degrees out today. Where are we at? 21st. That's how far out I am. 21st of October, and 75 degrees out. Although the seasons are going later though, because even in April and May, it's colder now.
It was.
It doesn't get as cold as fast, and it doesn't stay cold. But it doesn't. It stays colder. Stays cold longer, not cold.
Yeah.
There's your weather report.
Yeah.
Here in Wisconsin.
If you needed to.
Chime in the Midwest. Hey, speaking of weather report in Wisconsin, today midnight registration submissions close for the recycling summit we are hosting this Friday at noon. Starts this Friday at noon to watch operations, and then the full summit starts at 8 a.m. 8 a.m. on Saturday. We're taking everybody over to the Butler Inn for a fish fry
on Friday
night, because that's what we do. I'm checking the weather right now. That's what got me thinking about it. Anyways, recycling summer. We're going to go over operations, recycling, warehousing, all things that make us successful here at Camo Crew. Junk removal. The best thing is it's free. The reason I do this podcast, the reason I do these summits is to share the knowledge with other people on how they can be more effective, more professional in their markets when it comes to recycling and sustainability. So tonight, midnight is your last chance to sign up. It'll be a great time. We're going to do coffee and donuts on Saturday, lunch. I'll feed you. I'll treat you. We'll have a good time. A lot of knowledge to be shared, and you'll be able to network with the other attendees of the event. So last chance tonight at midnight closes, and the weather is going to be 62 and sunny on Friday and 56 and sunny on Saturday. 56 and sunny, Wisconsin, late October. The colors are in full swing, and we're going to talk about recycling. That's the time to shine, boys and girls.
It was. We did a lot of driving around last week, man, and I could not believe how beautiful the trees were, and like all the trees were holding the leaves, which makes it like fantastic. Usually, you get the wind whipped, and then you lose that pretty yellow or red maple. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Right. I have a maple. Yeah. So Thursday is supposed to rain. Yeah, normally you get that one storm. Yeah, right when they're gone. No, I was at the VA earlier today. I do my counseling every other Monday. And the VA grounds here in Milwaukee are beautiful. Mm-hmm. And they had tours of people because the colors are, you get the greens to the burnt orange to the red. It was beautiful fall colors this time of year. Also, I live like 15, 20 minutes from Holy Hill, which is like one of the most photographed places in the country for fall colors.
By duck hunting grounds. Lowe's Lake unit.
Really? Okay.
Almost nobody goes in there because it's so hard to get into. So I don't mind telling everybody where the ducks are.
You walk in or you boat in?
Well, you got to park, right? And then you got to drag your kayak or your canoe 800 meters to the drop zone. Oh. And then once you get to the drop zone, you're going to have to paddle like somewhere between another 1,000 meters in any one direction. And like a lot of guys are like, "Whoa, that's way too much work."
Yeah, there's not a chance I'm doing that. Right. the challenge I had with all types of bird hunting, I did a lot of pheasant hunting growing up as a kid, a little bit turkey hunting, a little bit fair bit of duck hunting. The risk versus not even the risk. It's the work versus reward.
Oh my gosh!
Like I deer hunt. That's my jam, right? And when I think about the work I put in, and I can put in the same amount of work pheasant hunting or duck hunting as I put into deer hunting. It's one meal versus 100.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
Also, the thing with me, and maybe because I never got into duck hunting or turkey hunting and pheasant hunting, it's less. It's like even with pheasant, it's like seabird, shoot bird, mm-hmm. versus deer hunting. I can sit there for hours bow hunting, watch deer at a distance. Watch them. Mm-hmm. See where they're moving, see what they're eating. Like really getting into that, and like that part of hunting to me is interesting. I will go bow hunting this week. Maybe I'll go this weekend.
If you get into the Lake Lowe's unit and you just go because it's a state park, it's a DNR conservation state park. There is a what do they call indigenous Wisconsin otters living in there, reproducing too.
Can't eat them though. We can't shoot.
No. But they're so beautiful. They're like, they just sit around and play all day long.
Oh, really? So
they come out like at about 7 a.m. in the morning, and like when the sun's up, and because it comes over the hill, and they just start hanging out together, and they're funny and
like the boys, they're just hanging with the boys.
Yeah, they're down there clams and all that other kind of stuff. And I don't know. It's like if you're into like. The crazy thing about that wildlife zone is it's virtually untouched by hunters, with the exception that there's a pile full of deer hunters that go in there because they can just park in the parking lot and then walk through, unlike a lot of other places where it's a much more substantially difficult hunt to get to your location to make sure you're not by a bunch of other guys.
Yeah, the issue with Wisconsin public land, I'm fortunate I grew up on private land and I hunt private land now. Yeah, the challenge is, if you're a public land hunter, If you have a spot, everybody knows that everyone's gonna be sitting there, and you're playing fuck games.
That's the way.
I've never sat on public land. We'll drive public land where there's public land across from my grandparents' house, and we'll drive it and Thanksgiving morning, things like that. I've never sat on public land because it's not.
How many tags did you take this year? Because they were giving them away.
12. I don't know.
I took.
I think
$1 and 3.
I think it's 4 and 4.
3 antlerless.
Yeah, 4 for four for archery and four for gun.
Okay, I took 2 in Waukesha County.
Yeah.
In the metro units.
Yep.
And then 2 in Washington County.
So I hunt in Washington County and Ozaki. So I live in Ozaki.
Sure.
So I have 2 in Ozaki and 2 in Washington. And you can also buy tags day of. Like, give me another boat.
So you just go online.
$12. I remember that happened last year. My dad's like, I'm out of tags. And I was like, okay. So like that night, like I went on the computer, like, I bought you 2 more. He's like, really? I go, yeah, like we didn't have to. Yeah. You can buy them for your. Actually, the one year, this a couple years ago, I was bow hunting early season, like late September, early October. And I normally buy a sportsman's license. And I didn't dawn on me that archery doesn't fall into the sportsman's license.
Really?
Or crossbow. I think you have to get the crossbow.
Crossbow, no.
Crossbow, the extra $24.
Separate.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there. I was like, I wonder. So I'm just sitting in my stand. I look. I go, I don't have a crossbow endorsement. So I'm like, I like to buy. I'm like, all right, well,
I do now.
Technically, I did nothing illegal yet. Technically, it was such a. It's a big fucking nothing burger of a thing, and yet, check the box. All right. Well, we've been distracted by deer hunting in fall colors here. Not talking work. All right. So, college, graduate school, dropout, real estate, flipping, sewer lining. What have you learned along the way about business?
Presence and credibility is everything. They say, showing up, 80% of it. It's true. It's true. So you got to show up, and then you got to be credible, and and then overpromise and overdeliver at every opportunity, because people will refer you out like you have no idea. And I'm like, I have over 550 active real estate clients. And they refer business to me all the time. That's the reason why I didn't give it up.
Yeah.
Who would walk away from like a gravy train of just real estate clients coming through the doors?
Are you still affiliated with a broker?
Yeah. Well, we own the brokerage.
That's what I thought. Yeah. So it's like you're not spending much time advertising or anything.
Yeah. I got a couple of really good partners over there. There are about 10, 12 people total on that operation. Could be more. It depends on whether or not we get our butts together in recruiting, but
they're all realtors.
Yeah.
But you're though you're not.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not actively seeking leads.
No, they just call up. Yeah. They're like, hey, come over, Eric. Can you come over? Can you come over? And so that's a byproduct. They say, like, if you can make it, if you can stay the course in the real estate game for 25 years, your next 25 years will be unbelievable.
Well, that's the compounding interest. That's the thing. In junk removal, what happened was a bunch of guys got into it in 2020, 21, 22, and they're almost all gone.
Yeah.
I mean, I can monitor the health of our industry based off of Quick Trip. Right. So this Quick Trip 3 blocks. It's the gas station, this premier area. It's like basically across the street from where you are. And I watch how many trucks are in and out and who's there at night. Right. I'm not there with a pen and a piece of paper. I am anecdotally driving by. And remember last summer, it was like a 2-week period. I saw like 6 or 7 brand new junk removal companies I'd never seen, or new outfits, I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, they'll be gone by next year. And a couple of them I haven't seen since. And then a couple of them pop up and you're like, all right. And then all of a sudden I'll be driving and see an area littered with yard signs one week. It's like, oh, they must have a slow week. Like it is this compounding interest. Even us, our industry was down 20 to 30% in July. We were down from our goal. We were still up year over year. And this year we are far exceeding last year. I mean, we're up 40% from last year, and we're up on top line revenue from our goal because of the compounding interest, right? Over time, you just get so many referral partners. You're able to grow.
Yeah.
The challenge with that is that they don't stick around long enough to get referrals. Or they get so reliant on referrals, they stop going out and getting other new business. When the referrals dry up, right? The fact is, your referrals are going to die. They're going to move.
Well, you have to be constantly recruiting. And then they don't scale the back office correctly. Yeah. If you don't scale the back office correctly, then you're spending all your time in the field.
Yeah.
And that was like the worst thing for us was was, as a real estate agent, actively always involved in selling, and then doing a deal. And coming into the pipe relining business, I had to self-teach. Then my main guy came on, Ninja number 1, and then Ninja number 2 came on, and I was like, guys, I got to leave the field. They're like, go find a deal. So now I'm out there just hustling, finding deals, right?
Yeah.
But Melissa, my precious wife, she's building the back office one piece of paper at a time, and all the software programs and all this other kind of stuff. And like, I think you have to make a decision as a, I guess you either say a guy that wants to be in business or a guy that should be in business with somebody else. It's like, at what point in time do you decide that it's better, like Andrew partnering with you?
Yep.
It's just better for him long term to come alongside and say, I want to do this with you as opposed to being your competitor.
Yeah. So earlier this year, for the listeners, one of my competitors reached out to me in April. Asked, he's listening to the podcast. He listened to some episodes. I joked that he was a huge fan, raging fan. He gives me shit. He's like, it's fresh. Anyways, fan of the show, number 1 fan.
Right.
Anyway, so he listened to the podcast. He had reached out to me on LinkedIn. The funny thing is, we had seen each other like, late April, early March. I was out doing estimates one day, and I was driving, and I saw him in front of me. And so he's got the truck and trailer. I'm driving with my Jeep. So I conveniently blew past him like, hey, motherfucker. I see you. Right. He laughed. We talked about it maybe like a month or two ago. He goes, I remember that. Anyways, a couple weeks later, he reached out to me, asking me how to do a project, and one thing led to another. And it turned out it was good. And the thing is, it was great for both of us because I have my risk aversion is almost zero. I'm like, fuck it, let's try it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and his is right. He's got wife, two kids, mortgage. He was also raised in a traditional household.
Yeah.
Both his parents are doctors. Like, so that is you go to college, you get the degree, you do the job, you hate it for 40 years.
Right.
Right. And I grew up with a dad without a job. Right. Dan Weins Home Improvement was a nice way of saying my dad's my dad's a handyman and carpenter that does jobs for people he knows. Right. And then turned into doors and windows and all this other stuff. The idea of like having like a company party or a company truck or business card or a title, I don't know. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, like, I knew we were broke, and Dad was at work. That's what I knew. I knew my dad worked a lot, and we had no money. So I'm like, all right, that's how you look at Saturdays are a work day.
Yeah.
Saturdays are, you want to spend time with your dad? Or not even you want to spend, I spent a lot of time being grounded. So I spent a lot of time on job sites. Right? Because Saturday, like, my daughter.
Did he pay you?
No. You know what it was with my dad?
Throw you a couple of bucks.
No. I was always fucking grounded. So on Saturday mornings, it was always, you're not sleeping in. Like I was about to say, my daughter, like I let her watch Saturday morning cartoons on her iPad. So I'm like, dude, I'm fucking dad of the year, right? Like you want Saturday morning cartoons and Eggos? Let's live that life, right? Because my Saturday mornings were up at 6:30 in the truck. I'd fall asleep in the truck on the way to the job site. I'd hold the dumb end of the tape measure. I'd carry the lumber. I'd bring the tools in. I'd do all the fucking things, right? And on a good day, we would go to Maxim's or El Greco, Oakland Euros, Ma Fisher's. You name a shitty 24-hour Greek diner. We would get lunch about 11, 12. That was my pay. And it'd be an 8-hour day. And so being on job sites was what I knew. That's what Saturdays were for. And then Sundays were for church and working at the house. And if there was anybody at the church or in the community that needed help moving or demoing stuff, or my dad was also the guy that, like, I learned junk removal because my dad would go to people's houses. They're like, hey, we need help with this project. He's like, hey, I want this organ that you have in your basement. And they're like, well, you can have it if you do a bunch of work for us. He's like, all right. He just wanted stuff. Like, he is a collector. He would get upset if I use the word hoarder. He is a collector of things and occasionally sells them.
He had a few pieces.
You've been or you know him?
No, but I know I bought a few houses from guys like your dad.
Yes.
So,
he has 3 barns currently full of stuff.
Oh my gosh, man.
Yes.
3 barns is a lot.
3 barns. Barns are big. Yes, he has 3 barns currently full of stuff. And he used to do flea markets. He used to flip the stuff. He used to sell the stuff. His is the joy of getting it. So there was, rummage sales or flea markets or picking up on the side of the road. So like I got that piece from him. But anyways, every weekend, work is the answer. My dad is 68 years old.
No, he's young.
68, and he still works 6 days a week. And he works half days on Sunday. Like I didn't see him yesterday working because I live on the farm, and he's normally working on the farm. Like, so him and my mom went and saw the fall colors and stuff. So like that's a big deal to not work Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
He even said once he turns 75, he'll go down to part-time, and his part-time is 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Right. So I grew up with this mindset of work. So going back to Andrew Crum, he has a disciplined nature to him,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a work mindset, and how his risk aversion was preventing him from going to the next level.
Oh yeah, you can't take any risk when you grow up in a household like that. You're
And then
just taught to mitigate it out right away.
What's interesting is there's a woman in my CEO roundtable on Friday. We're talking about marketing dollars, and she is very adverse to spending money because she was a president of a company, so it wasn't her money.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, whatever. I made a recommendation on blah blah blah, and she goes, "Well, I don't spend money recklessly like you." And I was like, first of all, you're right, you don't. Second of all, reckless. And I think to myself, like, yeah, that's fair. Right?
We were just spending $9,000 a month on AdWords.
Yeah.
We couldn't figure out where those leads were coming in, but we just knew that we couldn't cut it. So then we cut it for like by 2/3. And then we just kind of like watched the phones. And then I just got on the phone and started calling all the past due leads that I hadn't followed up with. But yeah, I mean, like, there's no amount of marketing dollar that you should probably not spend if it's put in the right area.
I tell people spend 10% minimum, 10% of the customers you want, not the customers you have.
Yeah.
Right. If you're doing $100,000 a year, right, and you're right, and you spend 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
If your goal is to do 200 this year, you got to spend 20,000.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. Q1, you don't have, I mean, break it down. You don't have almost $2,000 a month to spend, and yet you got to spend it because you spend money for the customers you want, not the customers you have. And so even with you, it's like, also, yes, operational processes and following up on hot leads or warm leads is a hell of a lot better than getting new leads.
Well, when you say the 10% on that, that's probably spot on, because our budget this year is like 200,000 on
for $2 million
advertising and branding, and we're on pace to do 2 million on close.
Home service. This is not my math. This is I learned this from Marco's Pizza in Germantown, Wisconsin. Right?
Oh, they got good pizza.
Yeah. Anyways, he spent 10%. I remember him, like his two claims for fame. He was cheap, right? Was every pizza gets a coupon.
Yeah.
Right.
I got one for
you get 25 coupons, you get a free pizza.
Is it? Yes.
I mean, that's not coupon, but like a customer loyalty.
Yeah, you get a ticket.
You get a ticket.
Right.
It's like a free pizza for every 25. Like that's
not even
nothing. Right? It's not even worth it. So, but the other thing he would do, this is where he was really smart. And I grew up with his son, and we'd have sleepovers at his house or whatever. We do Boy Scout shit. Yeah. His thing was he would let like 4 or 5 kids sleep over at his house. His rule was the next day, we're going to put out door hangers to neighborhoods. Yeah. And I'm going to buy you McDonald's afterwards. So he would do is he would drop us all off at the end of the street. You'd have put a door hanger on every house, and then he would drop us 5 or 6 of his kids off, circle back around, then go pick us all up, then jump to another neighborhood. And we would do that for like 2 hours. And of course, we're a bunch of like snotty 9, 10-year-olds. Like, we thought it was awesome. Like, we were racing who could do all the houses first, who could run the fastest, all this stupid shit. And they would take us to play basketball for like an hour and McDonald's. So his acquisition cost, right? He's $20 into some, McMuffins and bacon, egg, and cheeses. And he got like 15, 20 hours of work out of a handful of kids.
For McDonald's. No, which will cost you a pretty penny these days.
Now it costs you money, but back then it was like you bought 10 breakfast sandwiches at $2 a piece and threw them at the kids.
It's interesting because, like, for all this sexy, cool marketing that we've done and trying to brand sewer ninjas correctly and all that other nonsense, we got kids running around Madison right now, dumping door hangers for ice cream. Literally, the new guy Joe, who's running the shop over there, because
I didn't know you jumped to Madison.
We got to open it up because they got bad pipes too, and there's no relining out there. So he's like, he's like, I got it, and they work for ice cream. I'm like, you can pay those kids? I feel bad about having them. He's like, tell them $1 a door. He's like, are you crazy? I was like, there's only 700 door hangers there. Yeah. He goes, no, they'll work for ice cream. I'm like, okay, they're yours.
You got these 2 16-year-olds that we pay them to do door hangers, and they get 5% of every phone call.
Oh, really? Well, I got 700 door hangers. I'm thinking about dumping on Wauwatosa. So if they're interested, refer them over.
I tell people. So actually, I learned this in real estate. I was at a Keller Williams thing, and this woman got up and she's like, "Hey, here are the 20 strategies I use to get houses. Right? Mm-hmm. Here are the 3 that accounted for 80% of my leads. Here are the 17 that accounted for 20%." I only spend time with these
It was
three.
like
That's
those
it.
three.
So for us, it is networking, it is Google, and then it's visibility, which is basically our trucks.
Right.
Right. Outside of we look at existing customers different, right, and also referral because that's a different. We're asking our customers to do something at that point.
Well, and you and I are not going to get a ton of repeat business because once they clean it out or once they reline it, we're done.
Right. It's not like like landscapers. They have a completely different business because it's subscription. And once they're cutting, then it's like, oh, we can do the mulch in the summer, in the spring. Oh, we can do the snow in the winter. Oh, we can do the hardscape. You know what I mean? Like that's a customer for life that has multiple projects. Yes, to your point, like we'll do typically junk remote is 1.5. Every customer will use you 1.5 times.
1.5. Okay.
Yeah. So if you have a customer that uses you 5 times, sometimes we have jobs that we do this. Well, then that means you're going to have 5 other customers that never use you more than once.
Right.
You don't know what that is. So that's why like a lot of guys do not want to do single item pickups or minimum pickups, like on a mattress, because it's like, oh, I'm going to lose money. It's like, so even us, like our customer acquisition costs about $100 a customer. Blended average. That's what it comes out to.
That's good.
About $100 a customer acquisition. The challenge is if I do a $139 single item pickup, I have theoretically lost money.
Right.
Right. However, we never know when that single item turns into this, and this. You never know. There's sometimes you're a single item and the neighbor across the street is like, oh, I was thinking about getting junk from mobile. Now you're here, blah, 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 blah. Right. And also, I'm not going to turn down those single item customers because now my customer acquisition cost actually goes up because I'm taking on less customers. And I already acquired them. Like they're in my bag to take. Right. So that's why we do single item pickups. And now it's up to us to route them correctly. Because also a $10,000 customer was also worth $100 to acquire.
Well, I was, you and I, we've had a lot of cool conversations, but I was telling this brand new insurance agent that I met at a real estate closing last week. I was like, 1, I think you're doing the right. 2, you can carve out a great career in insurance. And I was like, number 3, never walk away from a policy. The first policy I ever did with the Filio agent was SR22 drunk driving insurance for my car. Right.
Yep. So
right now, I'm not sure where the premiums are. I heard they're somewhere over like $40,000 a year.
Yeah.
Like the first one was what? $1,800 for the entire year.
Yeah.
Now he has every single policy we have, like every single one. And there's a lot of trucks.
Oh, so my insurance guy was a workers' comp. There was an issue with I had a PEO, third party.
Oh yeah.
Employment agreement. What the hell is it? Not private.
Yeah, like a staffing service agent.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, basically, but it was a PEO. Anyways, and there was a gap with the way that the workers' comp was, and this guy went out of his way to look into it because all your insurance is not public, but those guys can figure it out.
Government regulated.
Whatever.
Right.
He's like, hey, just so you know, there's a gap here. I'm like, all right, fix the gap. Like my second year in business, I don't fucking know. Like,
right.
Fix the gap. So he did that. And he's like, hey, can I look at all your other shit? I go, I don't care. He's like, hey, you have a gap here too. So the guy I was buying insurance from, who still sells tons of fucking junk insurance, and I got fucked on the deal. He's right here in Pewaukee. He was selling me janitorial insurance. We had an issue at a job. We filed a claim, and they're like, nope, you're doing janitorial. This doesn't apply. Like, the fuck?
Right.
So yes, he sells cheap junk removal insurance. The problem is it's under janitorial, and junk removal is different. So my guy's got all my insurance policies now, and that guy is still in business selling crap policies to people nationwide. I got fucked on the deal.
Yeah.
Anyways, there's that. We're very open here on the Trash Talk podcast. If there's someone that pisses me off.
But like it's a value cost analysis.
Yeah.
You like look at a particular customer, and if your baseline is presence and credibility, and then from there you're going to overpromise and overdeliver. If you're going to add more value than the cost of the job, as far as the consumer is concerned, because the pipe relining business is interesting. We make more money in Madison because they're willing to pay more money for that pipe, and there's nobody else out there. Now we do a ton of lines in northern Ozaki County, and the value of that pipe is less. It's substantially it's like 1/3 less.
It's a rural area.
It's market dynamics. That's it.
Well, that's the thing. Even with us, when we do junk removal, it's like we price jobs at a certain price, and when there's ways I can cut costs along the way, that's called my profit.
Yeah,
right. I'm you are paying me to get this mission accomplished, right? I get paid for that. Because for every job that's like that, there's other jobs like your job where I also got paid to clear the house out. It ended up being
single item pickup, and it's on the way, and you're like, yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Hey, we want your business long term.
Oh, yeah.
I remember you guys gosh, I had a bad situation develop where I actually had a fire in my van, and it was bad. And it damaged like a bunch of like exterior like playground equipment and all this other kind of stuff. It was on like 52nd in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And I went and talked to one of my buddies, and I was like, what do you think I should do? He's a little older. He's like, just make it right with everybody. So I bought him all new playground equipment. I hauled all of his stuff out to the road, and the owner was mad at me. And I even got his I got his lateral covered by his insurance company. Yeah. No good deed goes unpunished. I'm like, can you just give me some grace here, man? It's like Christmas. And you guys came out, and you're like, oh yeah, we're doing a lot of firework these days. I was like, you are? He's like, oh yeah, it's just dirty work. I think I was talking to your gal, and she's like, oh yeah, we had
like a 6 month or 1 year period. We just did tons of fire. Oh, I know. And I don't think we've done one in a year or two now. It was a weird.
Yeah, we burned up all this guy's stuff, and
what happened? Your van caught fire?
Yeah, a compressor unit like started on fire, but instead of it just like dwindling, apparently, and you can never prove that the manufacturer didn't design it correctly, but it turned into the equivalent of a blowtorch.
Oh, lovely!
And instead of it like burning up and out, it used the air and the gas that was going through it and like created a blowtorch and melted the van in between these two houses. It was quite the fun ride.
Those sewer ninjas.
Yeah. It was 2 years ago, December 1st. Those are like the things that steer your brain. I had 11 shots I had to do that month. The first shot I did was I had the accident in some way by good team members, great suppliers, and a lot of luck and a few blessings. Like we were back up and running in like 3 days. We're like, let's go. And then I had to fix these guys' houses, and one didn't speak any English, so it was easy. Well, I care for you. I take care of you because you got to overpromise and overdeliver because you don't really know. And it was difficult. And I talked to the homeowner, and I was like, "What do you want?" And he's like, "I want this." And I'm like, "Yeah, you can have that." Yeah. Because what was the point? I took it in the ass.
Yeah. Go.
And like it was awful, but I wasn't gonna stop working.
Yeah, we had that recently where it's a simple thing was we brought in temps for this job, and they told us it was gonna be one price.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, no, these other guys are more. And I'm like, I ran the numbers, and I was like, in my head, I'm like cussing this person. I was like, you know what? In the grand scheme of things, I don't care. Pay the fucking bill and never talk to him again. Sounds good, right? Because again, make it right.
Right.
Like in business, it's a long game, right?
It has to be.
Make it right and make it go away. That's the other thing I tell when there's a budget, like we scratch up somebody's walls or something stupid. I'm like, make it right, make it go away. Like whatever that number is, and like I said, over deliver, because the plan right now is we fucked up your house. Our goal is to leave the house better than we got there. Whatever's going to cost. Like the answer is whatever's going to cost. And then once it's done, then we talk about it, because otherwise I'm going to end up having an emotional conversation and there's a logical answer. And I know who the fuck I am. I'm a highly emotional individual, where my range is like this. Now to the point of Andrew, his range is about like this.
Oh, because he would have made a great heart surgeon. He's so like keel.
His range of emotion, we talked about this earlier today, it's funny. His range of emotion goes from good to not good. That's the extent of his range of emotion. Right?
He bought one of my flips.
Still big.
Yeah. So it's just, he's a cool guy.
Great guy. Yeah. He's got
the biggest problem for him was simply like he comes into the business, right? And he's a one-man shop, and then maybe he adds another guy, so now he's a two-man shop, and maybe he adds a third guy, and he's a three-man shop. Yeah. But he still has to run every single job site. Plus, he has to do estimation. Plus, he has to do all the back office billing. Plus, all the COIs. Plus, all this other kind of stuff. And if he's just in it for cash flow,
there's no cash flow.
He can never get a toehold in the marketplace. Right. If you come in and do what we had to do, which was I want to build a long-term sustainable business that doesn't have my face. Like when I think of Camo Crew, I don't actually think of Andy. I just think great service, incredible rates, and the turnaround time is incredible. Yep. Like when I was building Sewer Ninjas,
the one thing I wanted to do was I wanted to build a brand that did not have my face in it. Because the thing that sucks about being a real estate agent,
It's your face.
what do you sell it? Competency, trust, and my face and my relationships. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so much ass kissing on such a high level all the time, everywhere you go.
Well, that's because, again, it's not Andy's junk removal. It's Camo Crew. There's the Camo Crew way, which is not Andy's way. Like, everything revolves around Camo Crew, right? What I tell people is marketing is what you tell people. Brand is what people tell you. Yeah. So you telling me, hey, fast turnaround time. Like, I say that in our marketing, right? Speed of execution.
Branding is what people tell you about. Yeah.
What's your brand?
Because
and if people are saying things that, like, for me, I did a rebrand about a year and a half ago. For 20 years, I was known as Andy Motherfucking Weins. Or Andy fucking Weins, or AFW.
Right.
When I was in radio, it was AFW. So tons of people knew me as AFW. Even on my brand, it was AFW, right? And the running joke is the F ain't for Francis, right? So I'm loud, I'm obnoxious, whatever. And then I wrote my book, and my girlfriend at the time, she really pressed me on this, and she was right? Dude, it's like, do I want to be known as this loud, obnoxious guy, or do I want to be known as a guy that's deep and has thoughts like you and I talked a couple weeks ago? Like, hey, I really appreciate your podcast. Like, gets me thinking about certain things, right? So I rebranded as Andy Weins, and now there's still tons of people that call me AFW. Yeah. However, now there's more people that are like, hey, you're insightful, you bring value. Even the podcast, one of our first reviews we ever got on the Trash Talk Business podcast was like, these guys swear too much. And at first, our first couple episodes. Thank you for listening.
Sorry if you're offended.
Oh, no. First of all, if you're offended, that's a you issue, right? You're offended doesn't mean I'm offensive. 2, never sorry. Thank you. Gratitude. Thank you. Those first 10 episodes, we didn't know what the hell we were doing. And Casey and I are both military. And the word fuck is, makes up for not having something to say.
I've never even imagined that word being so much part of my life until I opened up a steward contracting business where this is just like standard language. It's business acumen. Yeah. You're like, you're not gonna believe what the fucking inspector said. You're like, oh, I know what he said.
So anyway, but what I did is I started putting out content, right? I started marketing myself as Andy Weins. Like, even when I talk to people, when I first meet people, I tell people, yeah, I wrote a book about psychology. And they're like, what? And because again, it's Camo Pants t-shirt guy. And I start telling them my ideas or whatever. And then at some point in the conversation, it'll come up, well, what's the name of your book? Oh, Words Fucking Matter.
Yeah.
And they're like, 9 out of 10 people are like, yep, they do. Right? If I started by saying, hey, my name's Andy, and I wrote me this book, Words Fucking Matter, all I'm doing is going to project out and push people away. Well, if I say, hey, well, that's interesting, you said that. Like you said, sorry. Well, hey, let me talk to you about why sorry makes it about you and your remorse. Well, thank you makes it about me and gratitude, right?
Yeah.
So start with thank you instead of sorry. And now it's like, oh, that's interesting. And then I get people, I talk to them and they're like, oh, this guy's not dumb, right? I tell people, my goal is not to be right in this world. It's only to be not wrong.
Well, in my Sunday morning Bible case, this is great. I have the Bible, right, when you go to church. And then I have that book inside the same case. It's called How to Unfuck Yourself.
Yeah, I have that book. Yeah,
I was like, this guy really has.
Oh, I have it downstairs. Yeah, I read that. That was part of me writing. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, this is a good read. Yeah. And I was like,
I gotta move a handful of books.
He wrote another book that said how to become the parent that you're the fucking parent that your kids deserve. I was like, holy cow, man. I'm like, I'm not doing this.
It's a little heavy.
Like that was pretty heavy. But the interesting thing is like people knew you as AFW, right?
Yeah.
The one thing I've liked about the 30s and 40s and now the journey into the 50s is, frankly, I don't really want to be the person I was yesterday. I might have had some good days. I might have had some bad days. I might have had some better years than I didn't have years. But I want people to see me as somebody who is transformational. Like, not just like, I'm not going to tell you how to transform your life until I've actually transformed my life, and whatever that might look like. And that looks like, like you see all these guys in their 50s and gals in their 50s doing triathlons. It was something they wanted to do in their 30s, but I'm
life, kids.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden I was like, I can't believe I'm going to be 48 years old, walk away from a lucrative real estate career to start a poo pipe business.
We got 20 more years. Why not?
Well, that's what I thought. I'm like, well, what happens if I wake up at the age of 69? And I was like, I should have done that when I was 49.
People, whenever they interview people on their deathbed, more and more over, they never regret what they did. People regret what they did
not do.
And I'm that way. I was 31 when I got my LLC, but 32 when we got this business started. I remember I wrote an email like 2 months after I started this business. I sent it at the time to the franchisor. I go, something to the effect of like, I can't believe I waited this long. Right.
Mhm.
And I had a chance in 2009 when I was laid off and I had money in the bank ish. I had still money left over from Iraq. I had enough to pay some of my bills, not like
Mhm.
not money, not enough to start a business, enough to live off of, and I could have cash flowed it.
Mhm.
And I started doing junk removal, and I did enough junk removal and scrapping to pay my bills. And I convinced myself for years, oh, I need money. Oh, I need an education. Oh, I need a business partner. Oh, I need a loan. Oh, I need this. And then finally, I kept lying to myself. I did all those things. I got some money together. I went and got an education. I got a bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
It's like I did all these things, and then right before I left for my last deployment to Gitmo, I'm like, I told my then wife, and I'm like, it's my last conversation I had with my father-in-law before I left. I'm like, yeah, when I come home, I'm going to start this business. I'm going to do environmental consulting. Right, that's my thing. I'm going to be an environmental consultant. I'm working in the waste industry. That's what I'm going to do. And I remember my wife at the time was like, yeah, no. I was like, no. When I come home, I'm never going to work for anybody else ever again. Right. And it was right around the same time. My dad was 30 when he started his business. I think it was 32, 33.
Yeah.
Same thing. My grandfather was off the farm at 18, got a job. By 28, moved back to the farm, never got off the farm again. Right. So like, all of us Weins men go out and see the world. And sometime around 30, we're like, yep, jobs, they ain't for us.
Yeah.
Right. And so I gave myself all these excuses. And when I finally started the business, like 2 months later, I remember my goal was to do $100,000 the first year. I remember my brother and I, like, we do $100,000, we're fucking rich.
I remember that year
Right?
too. Yeah, I was like, holy cow, what am I going to do with all that cash?
Our first month in business, we did 13,000. Our second month, we did 16,000. Our third month in August, we did $29,000. And I'm like, we're fucking right.
Let's go spend it. Let's go buy some brand new trucks.
We already spent it. It been spent. It's great because at the time, because I went all in.
Yeah.
I maxed out credit cards to the tune of 40 grand. I spent all the money I had left from the deployment. I took a loan from my parents. I put my Jeep in the business. I sold my Cadillac. I had a Cadillac. I got a Cadillac. I paid $500 for it when I got back from Iraq. I sold it for $5,000 when I got back from Gitmo. Right, like it was like right down the list. Like I leveraged everything. It was to a point where we went to your point. In September, we have in the bank 20 grand. And I told my brother Isaac, I was like, hey man, I'm running the numbers. There was a truck, it was 22.5. I said, I can put up about 19. I need 3,500 from you to cover the difference. I go, I knew enough about cash flows, but we're going to dip, and then we're going to. Right. He's like, all right. So he gave me the 3,500. Like this was our last $3,500 that he had, right? Like I think he had like $5 grand. Like this was the last.
He's like, you can have the rest of it.
Yeah. We got down. It's like $73 in our bank account.
That's tight,
right? And you know, like, and then from there, it skyrocketed because he went down, bought the truck, bought it in Louisiana, flew back. But it was like, hey man, here's $19,000. We're gonna get like a Western Union or like a cashier's check or whatever. I'm like, don't fuck this up, right? Like that was like, and him, Isaac is much more risk averse than I am, and he was like, no, we're buying this truck. To this day, he still drives that truck. He still has it.
Really
Oh yeah, 2004. Also, that we bought that truck in September, October, and I remember it was right around Christmas. It was like one of the last jobs of the year. Snowy driveway out in Lake Country.
Oh yeah,
gravel driveway. I got this 16-foot enclosed trailer with this pickup truck. It's a 2-door with the seats in the back, 6-foot bed, Dodge 1500. Right, it's only it's a half ton, but this was huge compared to my Jeep, our van, and our Hummer. Those are the three vehicles we had at the time. And I go to back up this driveway. It stopped fucking moving. So I'm like, man, where's the 4-wheel drive? So the guy I was with, his name was Zell. He was a car guy. And I go, hey man, just put in 4-wheel drive. So I don't know what the fuck it is. He goes, I don't see 4-wheel drive. It didn't even dawn on me that pickup trucks didn't have 4-wheel drive.
Yeah, there was that one.
Right? What it was the guy that bought it in Louisiana. He didn't need 4-wheel drive. They don't have fucking snow.
Yeah.
So I remember doing this job. We had to hump everything like 100 fucking yards. This Lake Country gravel driveway. I couldn't get shit to move. And even then, I look back, it's like, yeah, those were the good old days. Like the shittier the job, the more I remember it. And I look back at all those things all the chances I didn't take along the way, right? The girl I didn't ask out for the prom. The girl I didn't fucking ask out for a date. The job offer that I had handed to me, I didn't take. In 2009, the opportunity to jump into business full time, right? At 24, 25 years old. That's why I do this. That's why I do this podcast. That's why I write the book. That's why I give back so much. Because at 40, I want to tell the 22-year-old, yeah, do the fucking thing.
Yeah.
Or even like Andrew Crum, right? He, by right, is farther along in his journey than I was. Because at 26, 27, when he started his business, shit, I was still of the end pull. Right? And I have the balls to do it. And now he came and worked for me. It's like, well, he gets equity in this company because we folded his company into my company.
Yeah.
And it's going to be for the betterment of both of us. So here I am. I was high risk. The issue I had was a lack of direction. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's like when you talk about the lack of direction, I think one of the coolest things is if you take your employer status really, really seriously, you can have like a dramatic effect on people's lives.
Oh,
I mean, I've got 3 guys under 30.
Yep.
I've got this amazing woman who works for me.
Your
She's
wife?
29. No.
This is the part we talk about how great your wife is.
And then I got 2 guys in their 40s who are salivating at the opportunity to build the ninjas. And then, but first 2 guys that I brought on, Ninja 1 and Ninja 2, both those guys got jobs like they were told to do.
Yeah.
And they were working the bureaucratic nightmare, and there was no growth, no opportunity, no change. And I just said, hey, I'm doing this, and I think you might be interested in it, and I'll pay you $20 an hour cash just to come on job site and just watch it.
Yeah.
And if you like it, let's talk about, like, we actually don't hire anybody anymore. We date them. Like they start showing up. And it's kind of weird, but
we do the same. No, we do trial days.
Yeah,
this is interesting.
Yeah, we do trial days. We're like, hey, just come in and see if you like the work.
Yeah, same thing. We'll pay you cash for the day or 2 to see if you want to work for us,
right?
And if we want to work for you, or you want to work with you.
Yeah. So, like, especially in this, what we do is dirty work. You do dirty work.
Yeah. Preach to the choir.
Like, I got shit pipes laying all over the garage. You know, some of them have shit still in them, and so, oh my gosh, that's bad. Oh my gosh, but. You know, like you look at the opportunity and you're like, you can transform your life, but it's gonna like be a lot of work, but it's gonna be worth it. And then the other question is what the hell else are you gonna do? There's nothing, you're not getting off the planet alive. And on the way to the last day of your life, what do you want it to look like? Well, just for you.
As you were mentioning those things that those other companies weren't offering, the biggest thing that people want today, the other companies aren't offering, is freedom.
Oh, yeah.
Freedom and flexibility. Right? I give our guys flexibility. It's like, how many hours do you want to work? As many as possible. Cool. I can work that out.
Mm-hmm.
We have one guy who wants to get a CDL. So he's like, hey, I need off, early Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Sounds good. What time is early? 2? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Hey, I'll work late on Tuesday, Thursday. Sounds good. Then work late on Tuesday, Thursday. We're doing an overnight job right now. So Casey, our lead,
really?
Yeah.
I never even thought about that. You guys got overnight jobs.
We're doing a bathroom demo of a commercial property.
Uh-huh.
So we can't use any equipment. We can't use any heavy equipment until 5 p.m. So the guys got there at 3. So they'll prep and they'll take down like the stalls. Yeah. As soon as we want to start chipping the floor, though, it has to be after 5.
Right.
But that's fine, right? And so like we have some guys were like, hey, you don't want to be to work at early? Sounds good. You want to come to work at 2:30?
Mm-hmm.
Be here by 2:30. We're on the job site by 3. And even Casey, who's our lead on that, was like, hey, man, you're going to work 12 to 10, basically. So instead of working 7 to 5, you're working 12 to 10 these 2 days. He's like, dope, I get to sleep in. Yep. Right? Like, it was that simple. Like, see how simple that is? Right? So, great. So that means a couple of people have to cover down, or really Crum covers down on his responsibilities on Monday morning and Tuesday morning because he's on an overnight.
Yeah.
We call it overnight, late night. It's like, all right. And that's that transparency conversation. I have another guy on my team. He does gun shows every weekend. He buys and sells guns.
Oh, yeah.
So he's like, I'm only working Monday through Thursday. I'm like, sounds good. He goes, I'm never working on Friday. I go, sounds good. I got another guy who's going to college to be a physician's assistant. Wicked smart guy. He worked full time this summer. Wanted to make as much money as possible. Now he works Tuesdays. Comes in. He gives us 10 good hours on a Tuesday.
He just hauls it on Tuesdays, hey?
He's like, I just come here and turn my brain off for 10 hours. I'm like, good. Like compared to going to school for
what is he, pre-med or some nonsense?
He's already got his bachelor's, so now he's in
so he's in that weird space.
Yeah.
Medical school, but not medical school or whatever. I'm not that smart.
Yeah, right? So anyways, he's like, and he's a smart guy. strong, articulate. I'm like, man, I just need your bank. He's like, cool. He goes, I wasn't sure if you're gonna like let me work here. And he's like, I need like his schools and all this other shit's paid for. So he wants something to do, right? And B, he just needs a little fucking beer money or whatever it is. I'm like, cool. And he makes, I think, $22, $25 an hour because he can fucking crank. And he's like, hey, I got a month off for December. Can I get more hours? I'm like, yeah. What else? You tell me when you want to work, and I'll schedule the work around you. And now when you have that type of flexibility, because when you work for these big companies or big corporations, they're like, this is the job, go. Now, in the nature of our business, like, we don't have remote work. Like, you're coming to, we physically have to go to people's houses. So beyond that, we want to create as much flexibility and freedom for you as possible. That's what people want, right? This idea that I'm going to work 40 years for the same shit company to get my 2 weeks of vacation. Millennials, Zennials, they ain't around that. Same with me, right? I could make a hell of a lot more money on the open market, right? I could go get a job.
Yeah.
People have asked me that. I think $500,000. I would not entertain any job that wasn't at least paying me $500,000 because the amount of freedom I have now, it doesn't even. You could walk up and say, "Hey, we'll pay $250,000 to do this job." No, the money ain't worth it. I don't care. I don't care about the money.
Well, I'm in the same boat. I don't know if my wife's in the same boat or not, but like we opened up Sewer Ninjas for a couple of different reasons.
Yeah.
But one of the primary reasons is so I could be home with the kids by 7:00 at night. And the other reason is so I could have Saturdays and Sundays off.
Yeah, versus real estate. It's nights and weekends.
Right. In 2020, it was like 1.4 million in paid commissions.
Yeah.
Paid out my team, that kind of stuff. Kept a lot of that, kept the lion's share of it, but worked 322 days that year. Never saw my kids. I was 179 pounds on 5'8". Boy, like that doesn't look good. And I was like, I was looking down the pipe, and I was like, there's no way I'm doing that for the next 20 years. It's not worth it.
How old are your kids?
They're 10 and 12.
My daughter's 10.
Solely, like I don't want to miss that. And at that time they were like 4 years younger, right?
Yeah.
So but the other thing is sometimes guys like us, so you can provide the transformational example to younger people and to people that need to make career moves. You go, you can do this. It's okay. You don't have to be who you are for the next 15 to 20 years until you qualify for Medicare or whatever that crap is. Like do something significant with your life and partner, because we can all do more together. But then the other thing is in corporate America, there's nothing to sell at the end of your life.
No, you have nothing.
And there's no value in whatever you did other than
your IRA, your 401k, and your seat will be filled 30 minutes after you leave.
And I thought about that because there's been a lot of private equity jumping around up here, and people have been selling their companies for really good. And I was like, you know what? If I'm going to bust my butt this hard for this kind of money or whatever like that, at the end of the day, I would like to be able to say this has value and it added value to other people's lives, monetarily speaking, as well as the freedom component. Because my team don't pull that crap all the time. They're like, Eric, what are the hours? I'm like, you write them. Just show up and get the work done.
Bang out the work.
Right. And they have a policy. You got to be in office, so no one works remote.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of in the pipe relining business. It's not like the big streets, where everything's just like right down the middle.
Yeah.
Shoot it and then cut out the holes so everybody can open up their laterals. The homes are all different, and there's a lot of creative, innovative strategy that goes into installing a pipe in one house versus another house, because one home is built in the 30s and the other one's built in the 70s.
Yeah.
One home has this sort of pipe and so like they start to tinker with the problem solving components to it. How are we going to do it efficiently? How are we going to do it effectively? What sort of a product are we going to use? And then all of a sudden the light bulb goes on and they actually enjoy the work. And I was like, wow, that's cool that I can provide that.
Yeah, because they still need the safety and security of
they need the paycheck.
The paycheck every other week.
Right. You and I don't get a paycheck.
Yeah. No.
We're just looking at the bottom line every month and going, well,
do it.
3 out of 4 weeks we're good.
Yeah.
So 2 out of
right. Can I go on vacation this month or go to a concert or not? That's all I spend. I spend my money on vacations and concerts. That's it. Like,
I know
who the fuck I am.
The 29-year-old young lady that works for us. Yeah. Fantastic. She's got a really cool compensation plan, but it's based on, she gets a bonus on gross margin, right?
All my guys, they all get profit.
So second quarter, she had 2 winning months and 1 losing month, and the losing month wiped out one of the winning months.
And she hauled the guys in. She's like, you know what? We're never doing that again.
Yeah.
No one. And I was like,
that's why I do profit share, because guess what? You your base,
right.
Your bonus is based off of the same thing I get paid. That's it. Because profit share don't lie. My sales guys get top line because they do not affect bottom.
Yeah,
right? And they're not closing
because they're
jobs.
part of the over.
Yeah, I need money coming in, and so everyone again. I don't pay people equally.
How many sales guys you got?
One guy, but our ops guy also.
Well, it's like two. So technically, two people are.
And we're transitioning our ops guy to a sales manager role. So our sales department, right? Because the thing is, if I can go from a 10% customer acquisition cost to a 8%, let's call it customer acquisition cost, because we're getting more repeat or existing customers. Where if I win those 2 points, I'm gonna give them a point back. So I'm still at 9%. Right? I'll gain a point and they gain a point.
Yeah.
Right. You got hillbilly math.
Right.
If I'm willing to spend 10%, anything south of 9%, I'm way ahead.
Right.
So I split. My whole thing is I split whatever the cost is. I learned that from my EOS implementer. And we'll end on this because we're way over time. He was talking about damage on his trucks. He was spending, I'm going to make the numbers up here. He was spending on average $50,000 a year on damage on his trucks, like preventable stuff, mirrors and stupid shit like that. Yeah. And he's got like 30 semis across the road. So it's like, okay, you're going to hit mirrors or doors or whatever. Let's call the number 50. He spent $50,000 a year on damage. So he went to all of his guys, and he goes, hey guys, I will pay you guys out $25,000 in bonuses a year. Right? So it's like $250 a guy a quarter. Right? Nothing's substantial. Right? He goes, as long as there's no damage. If there's damage one time, nobody gets a bonus. Right? Or I'll subtract this. I'll subtract the cost of the damage against your $25,000.
Okay.
Right throughout the year. So the first quarter was a little bit of damage, almost negated a bonus entirely. The second quarter, it was like mostly paid out because there was less damage. Third quarter, no damage. Because in between there, whoever caused the damage, instead of the drivers being like, oh, not my problem, everybody else would call the other driver like, hey, dummy, you took away my bonus. So now his whole thing is, I'm not spending $25,000 a year on damages or bonuses. Yeah. I'm saving $25,000 because I was already spending $50,000. I already accepted the $50,000. So now instead of spending $50,000 on damages, I spend $25,000 on bonuses for my guys for driving safely. And I save $25,000. It's like, so that's the key is the players that play the game right. And we're even doing this with our frontline guys. I'm taking this from other guys that do bonus programs with their guys. I'm going to pay you, right, for bottom line efficiency and the behaviors that contribute to it. So when you go and get reviews, we already pay our guys for review. Our guys get $1 for review, $2 if it mentions their name, $5 if there's a picture. I'm handing out $150, $200 every Tuesday morning.
That's awesome.
Because I want my guys to get reviews.
Yeah.
So I know those reviews will eventually materialize into more jobs. Yeah. It might not be theirs for the taking. They might have left the company by that point. Or it might be a job that's on their schedule or whatever. I also know that if they're getting paid for a review, they're going to deliver that much better customer service. So it's like, am I willing to spend, call it $100, but it's probably more than that on average. On a good week, it's more than that. Right? Am I willing to spend $100 a week, $5,000 a year to keep my guys engaged and get tons of reviews online?
Yeah, totally.
That's simple. All right, so we went way over time. It's all right. We started late. We ended late. Life is good. Top takeaway. What is your top takeaway from this conversation here today?
I like that thing. Well, I don't like it. I'm taking it away. I'm implementing that right away. I want 80% of I want 80% energy, productivity, efficiency 90% of the time.
Yep.
9% of the time, I'm going to ask you for 90% and for 1% of the working week. And I'll break out the middle with them. Yep. I'm looking for 100%.
It's 40,
total effort.
49 and a half and 30 minutes. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. 30 minutes a week, I need you at 100%. Maybe it's 3 10-minute periods. Maybe it's 30 minutes of hair on fire. That's it. And when you explain that to people, most people are like, oh, I can do that. Because when I have guys that come here like, I'm going to give you 110% every day. I'm like,
you can't.
You already lied.
Yeah.
Like, give me 80%. Because you know what? Don't give me 110% when I'm looking and 20% when I'm not looking.
Right. Because what your guys do and what my guys do, they come to a place where they start suffering repetitious boredom. They keep doing the same thing over and over again. And they, so like you're going to recognize that and then allow them to set, like during the week, have a, like literally like a transformative experience. Like this is important. I'm giving 100%.
Pick and choose your battles.
Right.
My top takeaway is, we've known each other for years. We've done tons of work together, and this is the longest we've ever sat down and chatted. And
that's because we don't go out drinking.
That's what I'm saying. Well, that's
we have to go hunting.
We go hunting. Right? And we also spend time with our kids and our families, right? Like, but that's the thing. Like, so that's my proof of concept. I've thought for years about podcasts are so much better in person, and I'm launching a new podcast with a woman named Christina right in this room. That's why I built this room out. So through there, listeners, if you're in the Milwaukee area, you want to go on the Trash Talk Business Podcast, this experience, technology glitches and everything else, this is a better, more transformative conversation. So proof of concept, right? Do the fucking thing. We came here, we did the thing. Yes, we ran 15 minutes late. So what? Right? We did the thing. It's better to do it. It's better, it's about how you end, not how you begin or how you start. So that's it. So the thing that I'm asking you to do, sign up and book your flights now. You've got 3 days to get here to Wisconsin for the Recycling Summit this weekend. Again, you will regret the things in this world you didn't do versus regretting the things that you did do. So on behalf of Taylor, our producer, Erik, our guest, I'm Andy Weins. It's been another great week of the Trash Talk Business Podcast. We will see you next week.
Thanks for listening. Tap subscribe or follow to get the latest episode. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to leave us a review and tell a friend to listen. To learn more, visit trashtalkbusinesspodcast.com. Bye now.